At the end of 2016, I had a script that went over some unifying themes that the games of that year had. Games like Deus Ex Mankind Divided and Mafia 3 directly talked about racism and put players in the shoes of a discriminated person. These games started to have certain mechanics like having to be segregated in Deus Ex, or Mafia 3's depiction of the fictional city of New Bordeaux, having racial tensions in the 60s be the backdrop of a revenge plot in one of the major elements of the game, it being the presence of the KKK. This shows how games have become more mature, and not in the sense of just showing sex or violence that other games in the past did, but actually talking about a topic as serious as racism on a meaningful level. These games show what it's like to be a discriminated person. Games like Dishonored 2 and Overwatch gave lip service to the theme to fill more of the backstories of characters and deepen their lore, and, well, that's really where that video would have ended. I didn't really have much of a point to talk about these games, and also I hadn't really played Mafia 3 at the time. But in 2017, where certain news stories in and around the gaming sphere has dealt with themes of identity, I thought it would be really interesting to give a rundown of definitely not all the games and news topics revolving around identity. And yes, it's a pretty common theme in media. It's something I noticed in lots of movies, games, and television over this year. So I just felt like this year had a certain weight to it. And personally, it's something that I give heavy consideration when playing games this year. And hopefully this won't come out too late. What follows will be a series of essays which will be converted from a video essay script, each covering themes of identity in games that were released in the year of 2017. This should give a taste of future content would look like, but with more of a focus on presenting thoughtful analysis through words. Emily is Away too so perfectly captures that timeless teenage angst, that feeling that many adolescents have of needing to feel like they belong. Emily is Away wraps around that mid-aughts nostalgia, those memories of booting up Windows, hearing that iconic chime, and being greeted by that green landscape, of AOL Messenger and early YouTube. But here, that nostalgia serves a purpose to be a part of identity. For many in high school kids, identity is wrapped in that movies, music, and games you like, and a lot of friendships are forged that way. And this game makes it really easy for one to lie about what you like. Certain things such as status messages and profile pics elicit certain responses from people, so why not change your icon to be Oblivion related when talking to the girl that likes Oblivion? The game in its big climax calls you out on any lies that you might tell, and your relationships are affected because of it, thus suggesting it's better to be yourself and not to try to fake who you are. And yeah, this would be a really cliche if it was a children's TV show or movie, but the interactivity of this game kind of really puts you to the shoes of the characters, and I feel it sends a message a bit better, even if the climax was a bit hokey at times. And it really makes me nostalgic for those conversations that I had over GChat, talking about tests and teachers we didn't like and movies that we did. Those times where I was pretending to have seen movies that I have not actually seen. And at that time, well, maybe I might have downplayed how much I liked video games or such, but everything I said at the time was generally who I was, and that's something that carries on today. Again, though, I went to high school later than the 2006-ish to 2008-ish that this game portrays. At the time, I was in middle school going through some tough self-esteem issues, some issues that would still haunt me to this day. But even when I was in high school, I never had conversations about too much of my personal life. That came much later in life, and me actually some of the very recent relationships that I made. The message of this game that it really doesn't matter how different two people are, maybe, if they really care about each other and are honest, that's what matters. You shouldn't really focus on the differences too much. And that's really something that I find that rings true. Recently, I I've met a lot of new people. Part of it is starting a new job. So with that comes, how does one present yourself? Does one present yourself as, the idea of identity comes up? You wonder, how should you present yourself? How should you interact with other people? You could very easily make a totally new person, be totally different from how you are. And that also applies to online personas. You could present yourself as a totally different person than you are in reality. And that's something that I've struggled with lately, is like, who is the real Sponge Brain, right? And I think this game really kind of really tackles those ideas. Not really tackles those ideas. It really does wrestle with that idea. I feel, when looking back at it and playing a little bit of it, I started feeling certain ideas. I could create this character to be whoever I want to be, and I'm not really sure so much about how that should be. Should I? And yeah, lately I've actually become more adventurous, more trying and doing more things that I normally wouldn't have done like last year. But yeah, and that largely comes with meeting new people and trying to fit in. And well, I don't know. It's just um, yeah, and a lot of people I'm still very. I still feel like the same person that I was before, but am I really? I don't know.